In just 35 seconds, one of country music's most beloved legends went from sitting comfortably on a talk show couch to marching off the set in fury, leaving the host speechless and the audience in complete shock. What started as friendly banter exploded into a fiery argument that exposed deep tension, disrespect, and a clash of egos that nobody saw coming. Before we dive into this explosive confrontation, make sure you subscribe to this channel for daily videos exposing Hollywood's darkest scandals. Hit that notification bell because you won't want to miss what happens next in the world of celebrity drama. Last night on the Jennifer Hudson Show, what was supposed to be a celebration of Reba McEntire's incredible career turned into one of the most uncomfortable moments in daytime television history. The energy in the studio started off bright, with Jennifer Hudson introducing her guest with a big smile and enthusiastic applause from the audience. Reba walked out wearing a stunning blazer, waving to the crowd, her signature red hair perfectly styled. She sat down across from Jennifer, and for the first few minutes, everything seemed perfectly normal. Jennifer started by complimenting Reba's recent tour. "You've been on the road non-stop. How do you do it at your age?" she asked with a laugh. The audience chuckled along, but if you were paying close attention, you could see Reba's smile tighten just a little bit. She handled it gracefully, responding, "Well, Jennifer, when you love what you do, age is just a number." Jennifer nodded, but then she kept going. "No, seriously though, most people your age are thinking about retirement, sitting on a porch somewhere. But here you are, still out there performing. That's really something." The way she said it made it sound less like a compliment and more like surprise that someone Reba's age could still function. A few people in the audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Reba's smile was still there, but her eyes told a different story. "I'm in the best shape of my life, actually," she said, her voice calm but firm. "I take care of myself, I work hard, and I'm not planning on slowing down anytime soon." "Oh, I'm sure," Jennifer said, waving her hand dismissively. Then she pivoted to talking about Reba's music, specifically her older hits from the 80s and 90s. Those were the days, right? When country music was really country music. Not like what we hear today. Reba leaned forward slightly. "I actually think country music today is incredible. There are so many talented artists out there pushing boundaries and bringing new sounds to the genre." Jennifer laughed, but it wasn't a warm laugh. It was the kind of laugh that made it clear she disagreed but didn't want to argue yet. "I mean, sure, but it's not the same. Your generation had real talent, real voices. Now it's all auto-tune and trying to sound like pop music." The tension in the room was starting to build. Reba took a breath, clearly choosing her words carefully. "I respect all artists who work hard at their craft, no matter what generation they're from. Music evolves, and that's a good thing." Jennifer shrugged. "If you say so. I just think there's something special about the classics, you know, the legends like you." Again, the way she said legends made it sound like Reba was ancient history, a relic from the past, rather than someone still actively working and thriving. But things really started to heat up when Jennifer brought up Reba's personal life. "So let's talk about your love life," Jennifer said with a mischievous grin. "You've been married a couple times, right? What's the secret to finding love at this stage in your life?" Reba's jaw tightened. "I'm very happy in my personal life, thank you." "Come on, you can tell us," Jennifer pushed. "Is it hard dating at your age? I mean, the pool must be pretty small, right?" The audience went quiet. You could feel the discomfort spreading through the room like a wave. Reba sat up straighter, her southern politeness starting to crack. "Jennifer, I don't really appreciate the way you keep bringing up my age like it's some kind of limitation. I'm a working artist, I'm healthy, I'm happy, and I don't think my age has anything to do with my ability to live my life fully." Jennifer held up her hands in mock surrender. "Whoa, okay, I didn't mean anything by it. I'm just being honest. We're all thinking it. I'm just saying it out loud." "No," Reba said sharply. "You're being rude. There's a difference between being honest and being disrespectful." The audience gasped. This was not normal talk show conversation anymore. This was real tension, real anger bubbling up to the surface. Jennifer's smile faded completely. "Excuse me? I'm being disrespectful? I invited you on my show to celebrate you." "Celebrate me?" Reba shot back. "You've done nothing but make backhanded comments about my age since I sat down. You've dismissed modern country music. You've implied I should be retired. And now you're questioning my personal life like it's any of your business. Jennifer's voice got louder. I'm the host of this show. I ask the questions that people want answered. If you can't handle a little bit of real talk, maybe you shouldn't be doing interviews. The audience was dead silent now. Some people had their hands over their mouths. Others were looking around at each other in disbelief. This was actually happening. Two successful, powerful women were going at it on live television, and it was only getting worse. Reba stood up from her chair, and for a moment, it looked like she might walk off right then and there. But instead, she stayed standing, looking down at Jennifer, who was still sitting. Real talk? You want real talk? Let me tell you something, Jennifer. I've been in this business for over 40 years. I've earned every bit of success I have through hard work, dedication, and respect for my craft and for other people. I came on this show as a favor because I thought it would be fun. But instead, I've been insulted repeatedly by someone who clearly doesn't know the first thing about conducting a respectful interview. Jennifer stood up too, matching Reba's energy. Oh, please, you country singers are all the same. You come on these shows expecting everyone to kiss your ass and treat you like royalty. Well, this is my show, and I run it how I want. If you don't like my questions, there's the door. The audience audibly gasped. Someone in the back yelled, "Oh no, she didn't!" Reba's face turned red, not from embarrassment, but from pure anger. Her southern accent got thicker as her emotions took over. You know what, Jennifer? I've been nothing but professional my entire career. I've worked with people from all walks of life, all genres of music, all backgrounds, and I've always treated everyone with kindness and respect. But I will not stand here and let you disrespect me on your show just because you think you can. Jennifer crossed her arms. I'm not disrespecting you. I'm keeping it real. Maybe you're just not used to someone who doesn't worship the ground you walk on. Keeping it real? Reba's voice was shaking now, a mix of anger and hurt. There's a difference between keeping it real and being plain mean. What you've been doing is mean, and it's uncalled for. Jennifer rolled her eyes, which made things even worse. Oh, here we go with the victim act. You know what? Maybe your generation is too sensitive for today's world. Everything is offensive now. Everybody's feelings are hurt. My generation, Reba shot back. Jennifer, you're not some young kid yourself. Stop acting like there's this huge gap between us. And this has nothing to do with being sensitive. This has to do with basic respect and human decency. Things you clearly forgot about. Jennifer took a step closer. You want to talk about respect? How about respecting my show and my format? You knew what you were signing up for when you agreed to come on. I signed up to promote my work and have a conversation, Reba said, her voice getting louder. I didn't sign up to be torn down and mocked by someone who should know better. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. The cameras were still rolling, capturing every moment of this disaster. The producers in the background looked panicked, trying to figure out if they should cut to commercial or let it play out. Jennifer's team was motioning for her to calm down, but she wasn't having it. Look, Jennifer said, throwing her hands up. If you can't handle a real conversation, maybe you should stick to performing for your fans who will just clap no matter what you do. That was it. That was the final straw. Reba's eyes flashed with anger. That's rich coming from someone who wouldn't have a show if it wasn't for kissing up to the right people in Hollywood. At least my success came from actual talent, not from playing politics and putting on a fake smile. The audience erupted. Some people were cheering for Reba. Others were gasping in shock at how brutal that comeback was. Jennifer's mouth dropped open. For a second, she was speechless, which almost never happened. Then her face twisted into pure rage. Get the hell off my stage, Jennifer said, her voice cold and sharp. Gladly, Reba snapped back. I've wasted enough time here already. You know what? Jennifer continued, her voice rising again. I don't need this. I don't need some washed-up country singer coming on my show and acting like she's better than everyone else. Reba whipped around, her eyes blazing. Washed up? I'm selling out arenas while you're struggling to keep your ratings up. Don't you dare call me washed up. Jennifer stepped forward, getting in Reba's space. My ratings are just fine, thank you very much. Better than your last album did, that's for sure. Oh, so now we're comparing numbers? Reba's voice dripped with sarcasm. Because I'm pretty sure my career has lasted 4 decades, and yours has barely lasted 4 years. The audience was going wild now. This was the kind of drama that would be talked about for years. People were pulling out their phones, trying to record what was happening despite the rules against it. Security guards were starting to move toward the stage, unsure if they needed to intervene. Jennifer's voice cracked a little as she yelled, "You need to leave. Now." "I'm already going," Reba said, ripping off her microphone and tossing it onto the chair she'd been sitting in. The microphone made a loud thud that echoed through the studio. "And trust me, I won't be coming back. Good luck finding guests who are willing to put up with your bullshit." Jennifer pointed toward the exit. "There's the door. Don't let it hit you on the way out, sweetheart." The condescending way she said "sweetheart" made Reba stop in her tracks. She turned around one last time, and the look on her face was pure fire. "You know what the saddest part about all of this is? I actually used to respect you. I thought you were talented. I thought you had class. But you're just another person who let a little bit of fame go to your head. You forgot where you came from, and you forgot how to treat people. That's not success, Jennifer. That's just sad." Jennifer's face turned red. She looked like she wanted to say something back, but the words weren't coming. Maybe Reba's last comment hit too close to home. Maybe she realized she'd gone too far. Or maybe she was just too angry to form words. Whatever it was, she just stood there, fists clenched at her sides, breathing heavily. Reba didn't wait for a response. She turned on her heel and started walking toward the exit. Her head was held high, her shoulders back. She wasn't running away in shame. She was leaving with dignity, with power, with the clear message that she wasn't going to tolerate being treated like garbage. As she walked past the audience, several people started clapping. It started slow, just a few people, but then more joined in. Within seconds, a good portion of the audience was applauding Reba as she made her exit. Some people even stood up, giving her a standing ovation for standing up for herself. Jennifer noticed this, and it made her even more furious. "Oh, great, applaud her. Go ahead," she said bitterly into her microphone. Applaud someone who can't handle a real conversation. But the audience wasn't listening to her anymore. Their attention was on Reba, who had reached the exit. She paused for just a moment, her hand on the door, and looked back at the stage one final time. The look she gave Jennifer was one of disappointment mixed with pity. Then she pushed through the door and disappeared backstage. The studio erupted into chaos. The audience was buzzing with conversation, everyone talking over each other about what they'd just witnessed. Jennifer stood alone on the stage, her chest heaving, clearly trying to process what had just happened. Her team rushed onto the stage, trying to usher her backstage, but she shook them off at first. "We need to go to commercial," one of the producers said urgently into his headset. But the damage was already done. This confrontation had been captured, and there was no taking it back. Jennifer finally let her team guide her off the stage, but not before she shot one more angry look at the door Reba had exited through. The audience continued to talk amongst themselves, some people defending Jennifer, but most agreeing that she had crossed a line multiple times. Backstage, Reba was surrounded by her own team, people handing her water, asking if she was okay, trying to calm her down. But Reba wasn't upset anymore. She was angry, yes, but she was also empowered. She'd stood up for herself in front of millions of people. She'd refused to be disrespected, and she'd walked away with her head held high. "I'm fine," she told her team, her voice steady despite everything that had just happened. "I'm completely fine. Let's just get out of here." One of her team members asked if she wanted to make a statement, maybe do damage control. Reba shook her head. "No statement. What happened in there speaks for itself. I said what I needed to say." As Reba and her team made their way out of the building, they could still hear the chaos from inside the studio. The audience was still talking. The producers were probably scrambling to figure out how to handle this PR nightmare. And Jennifer was likely backstage, fuming about what had transpired. But Reba didn't care about any of that anymore. She'd been invited onto a show as a guest, expecting a normal conversation about her career and her life. Instead, she'd been subjected to age-related jabs, dismissive comments, and outright disrespect. And she'd called it out. She'd stood her ground and refused to just sit there and take it with a smile. The confrontation had escalated from subtle digs to a full-blown shouting match, from uncomfortable tension to explosive anger. It had gone from a talk show interview to a viral moment that would define both of their careers in different ways. Jennifer's reputation as a host would be questioned. People would wonder if she'd gone too far, if she'd let her ego get the best of her, if she'd forgotten the basic principles of being a gracious interviewer. And Reba? Reba would be seen as someone who stood up for herself, who didn't let fame or television cameras intimidate her into accepting poor treatment. She'd be the one who walked away with dignity, while Jennifer was left standing on that stage looking bitter and defeated. The whole thing had spiraled out of control so quickly. What started with seemingly innocent comments about age had snowballed into accusations, personal attacks, and finally, a dramatic exit that nobody would forget. The audience had witnessed something raw and real, something that rarely happens on carefully produced daytime television. As Reba's car pulled away from the studio, she looked out the window at the building getting smaller in the distance. She thought about all the interviews she'd done over her 4 decades in the entertainment industry. She'd been asked tough questions before. She'd dealt with journalists who tried to get under her skin. But this was different. This wasn't tough journalism. This was just mean-spirited and unnecessary. "You okay?" her manager asked from the front seat. Reba nodded. "I'm good, really. I'm glad I said what I said." Someone needed to call her out on that behavior. "The internet is going to go crazy with this," her publicist added, looking at her phone, which was already blowing up with messages. "Let them," Reba said calmly. "I have nothing to hide. I defended myself, and I'd do it again." Back at the studio, Jennifer had finally made it to her dressing room. Her team was trying to talk to her, trying to figure out their next move. But she wasn't listening. She was replaying the confrontation in her head, going over every word, every accusation. Part of her felt justified in how she'd handled things. This was her show, after all. She got to run it however she wanted. But another part of her, a smaller, quieter part, was starting to realize that maybe she'd gone too far. Maybe the age comments had been unnecessary. Maybe she'd let her need to be provocative and create moments for her show override basic respect and kindness. Maybe Reba had been right when she called her mean. The producers were already discussing how to handle the fallout. Should they edit the episode before it aired? Should they release a statement? Should Jennifer apologize? But that decision would have to wait, because right now, in this moment, the damage was done, and there was no taking it back. The confrontation between Jennifer Hudson and Reba McEntire would go down as one of the most shocking moments in talk show history. It was raw, it was real, and it was uncomfortable to watch. 2 successful women in entertainment had clashed in a way that revealed the ugly side of celebrity interviews, where sometimes hosts forget that their guests are human beings who deserve respect regardless of how many viewers they're trying to entertain. Reba had walked onto that stage expecting a friendly conversation and had ended up in a battle for her dignity. And she'd won that battle by refusing to compromise her values, by calling out behavior that was wrong, and by walking away when the situation became intolerable. She'd shown that success doesn't mean you have to tolerate disrespect, that being a legend doesn't mean you're past your prime, and that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply leave. Jennifer had wanted to create a memorable moment for her show, and she definitely succeeded. But it wasn't the kind of moment that would help her reputation. It was the kind of moment that would have people questioning her judgment, her character, and her ability to treat guests with the respect they deserved. She'd pushed too hard, crossed too many lines, and ended up looking like the villain in a story where she was supposed to be the hero. The audience who'd been there to witness it live would talk about this for years. They'd tell their friends and family about the time they saw Reba McEntire storm off Jennifer Hudson's show after one of the most heated arguments daytime television had ever seen. They'd debate about who was right and who was wrong, though most would probably side with Reba given how the confrontation had unfolded. And somewhere in all of this chaos, there was a lesson about respect, about ego, about the responsibility that comes with having a platform. When you invite someone onto your show, you're not just creating content. You're interacting with a real person who has feelings, experiences, and a right to be treated with dignity. Jennifer had forgotten that lesson, and it had cost her in the most public way possible. Reba McEntire had stormed off the Jennifer Hudson show after a confrontation that started with subtle jabs and ended with explosive anger, dramatic accusations, and a walk-off that would be replayed and discussed for years to come. The queen of country music had drawn her line in the sand and refused to cross it, leaving Jennifer Hudson standing alone on that stage, dealing with the consequences of her choices.